I'm not going to put up with you. Appreciate your call, brother. John in Tennessee, you're on the air.
Yeah, Alex, you want to talk about court-martials. Have you've had a cell phone, so you know what a SIM card is.
Yes.
I want you to think about that on a very, very small scale, and I'd be more than happy to talk more about this off the radio. But if you ever wonder about the Gitmo detainees that were released and why there was so much confidence as to how they would not be able to rejoin the ranks.
They had microchips grafted into their spinal cords.
That's exactly right. And that's...
you just released some really secret stuff right there. I've been told that by some high-level people. They fuse it directly into the vertebra, so you basically can't find it or remove it. I tell you what, I'm going to come back to you briefly. Before we go any further, though, finishing up with John in Tennessee. John, you're saying that you have firsthand knowledge that detainees are being given high-tech microchips so they can be tracked when they're let out of Gitmo. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Mr. Jones, it's actually a program that started off being used on our troops ourselves.
Oh, I know.
Voluntarily. Being young and dumb and signing paperwork and thinking that you're going to do something that's special, such as myself. I served on a chemical ordinance, biological, radiological response team, and you sign up for these things thinking that it's going to help you. The chips that you're talking about, completely small, going nano to the point at which they don't even have to be embedded into the spine anymore. And one way that, there's conspiracy after conspiracy. You can make all kinds of...
Sure, they're putting them in the vaccines. In fact, outside groups have gone and blown it up.
But one thing that they are doing that people don't realize, because there are so many conspiracies, is not everybody needs to have one. So what they've done is they've created this grid, and if you and your family, say you were to go into a bunker, and there's 5 of you, only one of you has to have had one of those embedded, and they're able to associate that group that's together and use that as a trackable commodity, if you will.
Well, I know I have a family member who's been in the Army 32 years now, and he got all the special authorizations to stay in even longer because they have a shortage of troops. They let them basically stay in until they're 60 years old. And he said that, and this was about 7-8 years ago, they were getting the chips. And then he got real mad when I talked about it. I didn't say his name, but they figured it out. And so, yeah, they were getting chips then. And people make jokes about it when they hear this on air. No, folks, they're giving special personnel chips. They're giving officers chips. They're giving high-level people that are in secretive operations chips. Joe Biggs is here. Joe, did you ever hear anything about troops getting chips?
You always hear rumors about it, but, when they line you up like cattle into a room and start injecting you with stuff, you have no idea what they're putting in there. And some of those needles are so big, it's possible that they could do something like that. And that's a lot of things that you would hear rumors about within the ranks of the military. But at this point in time, I mean, we've heard that it's happened, but I mean, hopefully I don't have one of me.
Well, it's not rumors with my family. It happened.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going on. This has been going on for a while. Sir, specifically, though, you were in a group, because I know they have ordnance disposal domestically that they've used as the umbrella takeover, because it sounds legitimate. But I mean, you specifically, they told you we're giving you a nano tracker chip?
What they told us was, because of our response team, was you would step up to a line. It was painted on the ground. And they'd roll, your shoulders were rolled up. They would tell you to stay still. And there was this big thing that would come down, and it would jump right into your shoulder. And inside those shots, you were told, okay, this is going to help with sarin, this is going to help with VX, this is going to, help with all these different things. And one of the things that you signed up for was, in the event that anything were to ever happen, this will allow us the ability to extract you, to get you what you need whenever you need, basically cutting down on, this will have all of your allergies, all of your family contacts. So in the event of emergency, we're not looking and scrounging for everything.
Sure, so, but I mean, did they point blank say, we're putting a chip in you?
Yes. Yeah, it was, they didn't call it a chip at that time. But
well, that's exactly what they tell them. They go, this technology will allow us to extract you and have your whole medical history on it. You no longer have dog tags, you have this. They don't.
It was an interior barcode, if you will. But, you know, looking back on it with my age now and seeing how things have come out, it's a whole different thing. There was way more to it then than what it was now.
Now,
you know,
now, were you told specifically they were putting it into the spinal cord of the Gitmo people? Because that's what I was told.
No, we were not told that it was administered to the spinal cord. It is placed typically within a part of the body in which it would take, you have to have surgical intervention done on a massive level. This isn't something you could just have cut out of your arm.
No, they stick it in next to the nerve in the spinal cord. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you risk some serious stuff trying to go after something that you don't know exactly where it is.
Well, I hope listeners know that I've never even gone public with the information about Gitmo, even though I was told this by a high-level source, just because it's too unbelievable. But the caller's calling in, breaking down what happened to him. And I have my cousin who was told they were getting chips, I guess, 6, 7 years ago. It's about 8 years ago now. Time flies. And then he wouldn't discuss it after that, said it was classified. Very, very interesting. All right. Well, thank you so much. Anything else you can add for the viewers or listeners?
The only thing I would say is when it comes to anything that's told to you, please just think very, very quickly, but very, very slowly. Is this something that I really need? Is it, we've survived so long without all of these vaccinations and these things that are supposed to make us better. I can tell you firsthand, there are reasons that you don't know of why things are coming up and being put into your body.
Well, let me ask you this. I've talked about the military being the most awake group. I mean, not the new recruits, but seasoned people. Just because they're in the middle of it, they're decompartmentalized. The police then are another group that statistically is very awake. Doesn't mean they're not doing terrible things on average sometimes, but the fact is they are easier to wake up because they're not in total la-la land like the general public. So I just state it like I see it. What can you say about your colleagues, former colleagues in the military? Are they waking up, or do you concur with what I've personally seen, or have you seen something different?
I'll say this. I think, there's a lot of guys out there that would agree. There's a lot of guys that are scared to death. That have families. There's the 3%ers. There's the Oath Keepers. And then there's just groups of guys that have, their own mythology, you will, or different hand signals or whatever that, you kind of, you're taught to learn those things for when you are in places where you shouldn't be. And you know how to kind of create secondary forms of that.
So you're saying there's like basically secret languages in the military that people aren't going along with us and know what's happening?
In my specific unit, where we responded, we were basically sent and taught and trained for chemical, biological, radiological, and ordnance response team is what we were. Sometimes in the Army, it's referred to as a Seamarine team. In the Marine Corps, we were not classified or given a specific name. We had a secondary form of language that was not anything extravagant or difficult to learn, but in the event that we needed to communicate because we could not use our voice, or we were somewhere where things needed to be communicated to keep people from freaking out or to keep someone from knowing what we know, yes, there was a secondary, very complex form of communication that was taught amongst our group.
Sure. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for the call. We're going to have to call this little snippet of video. Marine tells story of being microchipped. And, I mean, I know that's true. In fact, I should ask him how long ago it happened, because it started about 8 years ago in the Army. And my cousin got called in with about 400 at a military base in Texas, and they told him this is classified, but there is a program. Some of you will be selected to get an implantable chip so we can extract you wherever you're at. It'll have your whole history on it. And they said but they said chip flat out. You will be getting a microchip, and it will be put somewhere where the enemy can't find it. And he wouldn't tell me where it was. I know on the Gitmo, it's in the spine. Is that not incredible, Joe?
That's crazy, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't doubt, especially when you're high up, your special ops kind of guys. They're going to be out there deep in the field undercover. It would make sense that that'd be something they would try.
Sure, all of this stuff makes sense, except it's the globalists are in control of it.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like Samsung came out yesterday and said, yes, we are recording you and listening to you.
And we've been saying it forever, and people mock us and say, we're crazy. And now it's out in mainstream media.